Let's jump to this story from Timcast.com. 12-year-old kicked out of Colorado classroom over Gadsden flag patch. The student returned to school Tuesday saying he would sit in to protest the school's decision. This story has been going viral all day. Don't tread on me on his backpack. In a viral video, you can actually hear the teacher. In this tweet from Connor Boyack, he says, meet 12-year-old Jaden, who was kicked out of class yesterday in Colorado Springs for having a Gadsden flag patch, which the school claims has origins with slavery. The school's director said via email that the patch was disruptive to the classroom environment. Oh, man, there's so much to talk about here. Not only are they saying that the Gadsden flag was a symbol associated with slavery, they came out later saying, actually, it was about the guns and stuff he had on his bag. And so now they're trying to change what actually went down because there is what appears to be a secret recording of what was going on. It seems that this family was well aware of what was going to happen. Now, of course, if he had a communist symbol on his back, they wouldn't say anything. No. A lot of people have said if he had a pride flag, they'd cheer him on. Well, duh. But if he had like an actual communist Soviet Union flag on his bag, they would say nothing. Despite the 100+ million people that were killed by the Soviet Union. And if you want to count everybody, including, communist China, it's fairly substantive. I just want to say for the Gadsden flag, we got one hanging in the garage, and it's basically a symbol of independence.
Well, I mean, we're talking about a teacher, right? Somebody that should know this stuff. She said that there were origins for, the Civil War and slavery and stuff. This has actually had the Gadsden flag originated in the Revolutionary War. This isn't anything. This shouldn't be a shock to anybody, but we keep going back and back and back, and we're gonna relate anything to slavery. Like I worked in real estate before, and we had to change the name from master bedroom to primary bedroom or something like that. It's like we keep more and more keeps getting sucked into this slavery talk.
Yeah.
And even if it has nothing to do with it, it's crazy.
Yeah, Darth Vader was a slave to the Emperor. He called him master plenty of times. Neither of them were black dudes. It doesn't matter. Like slavery exists on Earth. Deal with it.
Even today, it exists.
I don't think this is glorifying slavery. This is like, get off my back. Let me be an independent human.
This kid is what, 12, so he's in like the 4th grade, 7th grade, maybe. I don't know. It probably was not disruptive to any of his classmates. It's disruptive to the teacher who decided they didn't like it, who then pulled him out of class and said, you can't be here. We have to bring your mom in. I love the secret video because the mom is clearly sticking her cell phone into her stroller. She's got like another small child there. I think this is such a strange example of adults having actual hysteria rather than really monitoring what's going on in the classroom at all. They're once again putting their will and their political agenda above everything else.
But question though, is it cool for a 12-year-old, 6th grade, I assume, 6th grade, to go into school with guns, a shirt with guns on it that says revolution? Is that cool?
I mean, different schools have different rules about that type of stuff, like whether you can like have a shirt with a gun on it or whatever else. The thing is, he didn't. They have this recorded video. It's the Gadsden flag, and then they're like, "We've changed our mind. Actually, this was the complaint." It doesn't come up in the recorded meeting.
Remember when the kid chewed the Pop-Tart into the shape of a gun, and he got in trouble for it?
Yeah.
Yeah. These schools are psychotic.
Kids used to get in trouble for if you're like playing like cops and robbers on the playground. And
not when I was a kid.
I think
Back when I was a kid, we had little cap guns, and you get the plastic orange cap gun with the little metal, and then you get the roll of
the red tape thing.
And then we also had the little caps, which were plastic, like a plastic. What would you call it?
One of those
moon
wheels.
Clip. Yep. And then you'd put it in and close it, and it would go pop, 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 pop. We had those. Now what? A kid chews a Pop-Tart and he gets kicked out of school. A kid's got it's going to keep happening.
They've had these
things,
these cap guns since the 50s?
Yeah, they didn't have orange tips on them for a long time.
They didn't have exactly.
But let's be real. High schools used to have shooting clubs. I mean, it's all going in one direction.
Right.
Then you see there's a video I just watched of a guy in, where was he? I think it was in California. He's walking up to his doorstep with his keys to enter his home, and you see guys in masks follow him up and then just start beating the crap out of him and rob him. And it's just like, man, that stuff could have happened at any point in history, but now we're living in very dense urban areas where these guys know they can be armed because they don't care about the law and you can't. And this is where we're at. Schools, I wonder if it's a natural tendency of densely packed urban environments that result in this, because we had the story from Solzhenitsyn about from the Gulag Archipelago that a guy was being threatened by a knife. So he fought the guy and then stabbed the attacker, got arrested. And then when he was on trial, he was like, the guy was going to kill me. What should I have done? And they're like, you should have run. It's like, so when you have a criminal who's armed and going to kill you, well, that's crime. But if it's you, you're the good citizen. You should know better. When I look at these schools and how they all move in the same direction, history is bad. I wonder if it's the average person is docile, ignorant, uninterested in worldly affairs, and just goes through the motions. And which means, unless you, as a politically thinking individual, someone with passions and opinions, if you are not actively pushing back, defending, say, the Gadsden flag, it all gets erased. And we are moving now into that era where there are videos of people being victimized and the victims get arrested. Like, that guy, Daniel Penny, I think his name was, in New York. There's Perry and Penny. I don't want to confuse them. We're in that because good men did nothing, as the saying goes. And so the lazy, uninterested people take the path of least resistance. Now we see it take the shape in police departments. The cops are looking at these mass lootings and these robberies, and they're like, I can't deal with that. So what do? Nothing. But then when you are, let's say, filing a legal challenge to an election, well, the cops absolutely had no problem doing their duties to arrest Donald Trump. I saw that video when Trump was being arraigned. I don't know if arraigned. He was being arrested in Georgia, and the cops are in front of and behind him. And I'm like, these cops are trash. They are willing to do it. It is the easiest thing in the world. Hey, do you want to arrest a guy because he's got he didn't pay child support? Yeah, sounds easy. Do you want to go arrest a guy who's an armed robber who's threatening to murder people in the street right now? I ain't doing that. No. And that's where we end up.
And they could. Okay, because, you look at Georgia, Fulton County especially. You have this DA, this woke DA, this George Soros-funded DA that is, going after Donald Trump. And it's not even just Donald Trump, it's all these other people. You had the chair of the Georgia Republican Party, which all he did was, his crime was proposing a separate set of electors, okay, just in case it was proven that I don't remember his name. It was David something. Just in case it was, there was evidence that was brought forward to, possibly challenge the election results in Georgia. And you also had Fani Willis, which I'm gonna keep with Fannie Willis because she's
it's Fani?
It's apparently Fani. I'm gonna continue with Fannie. And she came out and she actually posted after the 2020 election saying that, hey, why is it taking so long for these results to come out? Why are we doing ballot dumps at 3:00 in the morning? Even she was asking those questions. Is she going to prosecute herself? What's going on?
I don't think what she did was illegal. You're allowed to question elections.
Right. What she's doing to Trump is unconstitutional.
Yeah. Well, she's a hypocrite. That's my point.
But this is where we are. All of these things are tied together. Symbols of this nation's history are being banned in schools. Right? They're since the 1619 Project, since before that, they have been lying about what this country is based on, what it's about, and why we have these symbols. And you know what happens? I saw this tweet from, I don't know who this person is, some woman, saying, I'm so sorry I offended you. Apparently, she had gone on Facebook and said puberty blockers are a trick by pharmaceutical companies to harm children, blah, blah. And then it resulted in a big backlash, and she went, I'm so sorry, please. Oh, you spineless piece of garbage. Come on. This is the problem. How can you know that injustice is happening and evil is rising and just be like, I better apologize and get on my knees for evil? It's just disgusting.
They're afraid of getting canceled.
I know,
That's it.
but they're letting evil win for their own selfish, pathetic reasons.
What was Martin Luther King's quote? I think is all that evil needs to succeed is for good men to do nothing.
That wasn't, that was
Einstein, some really historically famous
that was the quote I
figure.
was referencing.
Yeah.
And,
meaning that you don't have to do good to make the world good. You just need to stop evil when you see it or speak or call it out so that society stops it.
The left used to be about this too.
Edmund Burke.
Who was it? John Lewis that said, get into good trouble. Right? What happened to that? We're talking about the right, calling things out as they should be. Such as, if you see election fraud, how about, call it out? Yeah, it's really weird when you have ballots coming in at, by truckloads at 3:00 in the morning. Okay, why not question that? Is that not allowed to be investigated at this point? You're going to end up in jail? Because all this is now is an intimidation tactic. And people are going to be afraid to say anything in the future. And that seems to be the goal.
Yeah, I think it is the goal. Because I don't think it's about morality of values. Like you're saying, if there's election fraud, you should call it out because that's wrong and that hurts the system, blah, 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 blah. And they're saying that's true if it benefits our team. Because everything comes down to these two parties that have to control power and ultimately, you know.
What about
So it might actually be John Stuart Mill. They say Reuters says Edmund Burke is a false attribution because no one really knows exactly. But of course, the saying is the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. And John Stuart Mill allegedly has a quote where he said, where is it at? Bad men need nothing more to compass their ends than that good men should look on and do nothing. There you go.
Amen.
And that's what bothers me about everything. These people who would watch the world burn so they can sit among the ashes. It's like, well, I'd prefer to try and put the fire out. I think it's a Sun Tzu quote, I could be wrong, that evil men will burn down their nation, their country, so that they can rule over the ashes. And weak men will watch their nation burn so they can sit among the ashes. For what purpose would you, I ask you, citizen, for what purpose do you have to sit among the ashes of fallen ruins? You're not going to survive.
I know, that's the thing.
You'll experience no joy.
Like the Phoenix must burn and to be born again. I'm like, dude, the Phoenix is a fantasy arc character. You don't burn your city down to make it better. That makes no sense.
Well, for the extremists, it does. They're not burning down their city. They're burning down your city. Right. Your city is in opposition to their world. So
I guess if you can like sneak into a foreign country that you hate and want to see destroyed and then act like you're a protester of that country and get to burn their own cities.
Like the CIA.
Yeah, mad tech.
Tim, who is running this country? I want your opinion on that. Who is running this country at this point? Because, I mean, Joe Biden is clearly not running this country. He's not.
Nobody's running it.
Nobody's running. So
No, I think there's various and disparate factions of powerful individuals who are fighting over power. I think some people are more responsible for the destruction than others. But I think ultimately you do have Republicans. You've got some that are anti-establishment, some that are uniparty, neocon establishment. You, of course, have powerful Democrats. Their interests align in certain areas. You have the World Economic Forum and their interests. You have NATO. No one is controlling everything in this nation. There are just different power bases that influence different sectors of the country, some being more powerful than other. The most powerful bloc, of course, is the woke establishment. These are the people that want war in Ukraine, support it, and also, want to sterilize kids. It's a weird amalgam of people. They are not the most powerful, nor are they in control of everything. That's exemplified by the fact that Bud Light actually is taking a massive hit, and businesses can go under if we don't buy their products. If we were actually in a totally centralized totalitarian state, then the woke establishment would be able to snap their fingers, and there's no question the beer for Bud Light is bought, and anyone who spoke up would be gulagged. We're not there yet. So it still is various power centers in this country. Joe Biden does have the reins to one portion of it, but I can't say for sure. I do think it's fair to say the woke establishment controls the most, and this includes neocons, neolibs, and the left. But I think they're actually losing control, which is why they're engaging in acts of desperate, unconstitutional indictments, etc. They're going to lose the cultural front. So the only thing they can do is swing the hammer that they're holding for the time being.
Who do you think's running the show?
So I'm not exactly sure. And it's really hard to say. I think that there are. I think somebody like, and I know we're getting into really specific things here, but like Jake Sullivan, National Security Advisor for Joe Biden. He was National Security Advisor, I believe, for Barack Obama as well. There are a lot of Obama holdovers.
There's a ton, and they keep bringing them in.
Yeah.
White House special counsel, every single one of them has been affiliated with the Obama administration.
Right. And so you're like, okay, how did they get to that point? Okay, was it, how much involvement does Barack Obama have in the current administration? Because, all the policies seem to be, echoing Obama policies as well. And, I can't help but think that this man, are we actually looking at a third Obama term?
Jake Sullivan, you mentioned, as far as I know, he's the guy that Hillary sent most of the emails to that were classified of her 30,000 emails or so. So many of them were CC'd to Jake. She just sent him Jake. Take it, Jake. Take it, Jake. I don't know.
He also led the Afghanistan withdrawal as well. So, I mean, the guy is a disaster. But he is pretty much running. You have Lloyd Austin, right? Which is supposedly running the Defense Department. In reality, it's Jake Sullivan. He's the one calling the shots, and it's scary because he was a disaster during the Obama administration. He's a disaster now. So
I'm glad we're calling out his name in his face, because this guy up to this point hasn't.
People need to know.
Yes, Jake Sullivan.
Yep.
What are you doing, Jake?
I think that's the thing everyone talked about when Biden was campaigning, that how much of this would just be the third Obama term, and did we want that, right? But Biden consistently proves that his administration is headless, right? He's not a strong leader himself. I think there's obvious signs of tension within the administration. And from what I can tell, like I just said, the third White House counsel is stepping down to be replaced with yet another person who was in the Obama administration. So they are falling back on an administration that hasn't been in power, and also not creating any leadership among themselves. So we are not seeing solutions. We're just seeing a scramble to try and go back to what they might refer to as the good old days with no true effectiveness.
Right. It's like a rule by committee in the executive branch, which is where you're not supposed to have a committee. You're supposed to have a president. And the committee is Congress. You got the legislative branch for that. So we don't need a committee just pushing Biden's hands around.
But they know that they have full autonomy at this point, because Joe Biden's not hiring and firing anybody. You know, they have full autonomy. They can do whatever they want to do.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.